Fellas, my name is McNamara. Actually, it's Herbert McNamara. I never did go for the Herbert part, so I just tell everyone to call me Mac. I've been with Northside Hudson for about 4 years. The reason I'm up here now is to tell you about a discussion a few of us had the other day at the dealership. The discussion was about the new Ramblers. Actually, it was more of an argument than a discussion. That's because Pete Walgren and Bill Crosby were in on it. Whenever those two get together, you can be sure there's going to be a first-class rhubarb. Actually, they're both top-notch automobile salesmen. I know I learned a lot from them. But they're both inclined to be a little quick-tempered. Pete gets Bill Crosby sore by calling him Bing all the time, and Bill gets Pete sore by poking fun at his red hair. Sort of like a feud, I guess, with each one trying to out-talk, outsmart, and outsell the other. Well, anyway, early last Monday morning, Bill and me were talking about the Ramblers, and Bill was saying...
And that's why I say the big potential for these new Ramblers, Mac, is the second car market. They're unnatural for it, particularly for women drivers.
What's that you're selling, Bing?
Oh, morning, Pete. Bill was just saying our best bet with the Ramblers is the second car market.
Yeah, well, as usual, Mac, our friend Bing here is off on the wrong track. With the Rambler, we're able to compete with Ford, Chevy, Plymouth, and anything else in the low-price field. That's the market to go after.
Are you kidding? Listen, Carrot Top, don't give us that do-or-die stuff. The Rambler isn't made to compete with the big three. It's ideal for the class market, not the mass market.
What do you mean by that, Bill? What's this about the class market? Are you saying...
I'm saying that thousands of car buyers want a car that looks different from those driven by everybody in their neighborhood. To them, a car that looks different has class. Why do you think you see all those little foreign cars around? Well, this Rambler is different, too, and it'll appeal to a lot of people for that reason.
Well, maybe so, but why limit yourself to the thousands of people who want a different car? A couple of million people buy Fords, Chevys, and Plymouths because they want low-cost transportation. And the way prices are climbing in the so-called low-price field, the best market for the Rambler is all those people who want a car that's really economical to buy and operate.
That's so. What have we got to offer them that Ford, Chevy, and Plymouth don't already have, huh? Give us a for instance, Redhead.
All right, I'll give you a for instance, Bing. For one thing, the Rambler is a smaller car.
So what? Is that supposed to be a plus?
Well, you wouldn't think so, but to any other salesman, it's a plus. You yourself said there are a lot of foreign cars around. Well, it's not just a matter of being different. There's a trend towards smaller cars.
Towards smaller cars. Is that why every year Detroit is putting out bigger jobs with more horsepower? You're way off base, Buster.
Bill has a point there, Pete. Almost every manufacturer is bragging about increased horsepower on his new models.
Well, maybe so. But with traffic the way it is, and parking spaces disappearing, and gasoline getting more expensive all the time, a great many people are ready for a smaller, easy-handling car. All it'll take to sell them a Rambler is a demonstration and a little persuasive salesmanship.
Sure, and you, of course, are the super salesman who can do it. Well, for my dough, people today want bigger cars. That's why I say we should try to step up every Rambler prospect into the Hornet or Wasp. This Rambler's going to bring in people who've never been in a Hudson showroom before. It's a big chance to get them behind the wheel of a Hudson for the first time.
Listen, Billy boy, you couldn't keep yourself in cigarette money trying to step Rambler prospects up to the Hudson. I'm telling you, the Rambler appeals to people who always buy in the low-price field. Now, you'd only confuse them trying to upgrade the sale. Now, how about it, Mac? What do you think?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm still on the fence. Go ahead, one of you. Convince me.
Look, Mac, isn't it a fact that styling is the thing that sells cars today? That's what people want, styling. And on that basis, we aren't going to steal too much business away from the big three.
Hey, watch what you're saying, Bill. Every automobile salesman's supposed to believe he has the best-looking car on the road.
Well, I guess it helps if he does believe that. But what difference does it make anyway? Prospects either like the looks of your car or they don't. The salesman can't do anything about a prospect's opinion of a car's styling.
Oh, boy, are you all wet. Listen, the Rambler is very competitive style-wise. And any time you want to put up some money, I'll show you that you can sell prospects on styling. Make them like a car's looks.
Do you really believe that, Pete? That you can actually get a prospect to like a car's looks? Sell them on the styling of it?
That's right, Mac. You can sell styling like you can any other feature. Well, anyway, you can take somebody that's lukewarm about a car's looks and make him see it in a new light. It's just a matter of describing it enthusiastically enough and pointing out some fine details of styling that they hadn't considered.
Well, that sounds reasonable. Maybe that's why car manufacturers beat the drum so hard when they introduce the new models. I guess they figure if they tell people often enough their new models are beautiful, a lot of them will get to believe it.
Well, anyway, I don't buy all this stuff about styling being so important. Seems to me I've seen surveys where economy and ease of handling were the top buying motives. And the Rambler is way out in front on both those points. You know, Ford and Chevy aren't selling all those cars every year because their styling is so superior to other cars. In my book, low price is still the number one factor with most new car buyers.
Low price, huh?
Yeah.
Is that why Ford and Chevy brought out extra fancy models that cost over $3,000, huh?
Well, they're off on the wrong track, that's all. I tell you, with this Rambler, we've got a beautiful opportunity to step in and talk real economy to a lot of buyers who don't want to pay $3,000 or more for a quality car with equipment.
Say, Carrot Top, too bad Ford and Chevy don't know they're off on the wrong track. Why don't you write and tell them? Maybe they'll make you vice president or something. Look, let me ask you something. If the public wants a low-price car that gives good gas mileage, why didn't they buy more of those four-cylinder Henry J's, huh?
Oh, well, let's not go to extremes. We've got an entirely different car with this Rambler. It handles beautifully, it gives a good, comfortable ride, and it has luxury touches, which I agree are important. Why, if we could get enough Ford, Chevy, and Plymouth owners to drive the Rambler, we'd take a lot of business away from them.
You really believe that, don't you, Pete?
You're darn right I do. Look, you've driven the Rambler, Mac. Look at the way it handles. It responds beautifully. And when you first drove the Rambler, weren't you surprised at the smooth ride it gives?
Yeah, that's right. I was at that.
All right, you know, a lot of people drive big, heavy cars because they think a smaller car like the Rambler will shake their upper plates loose. Now, if we can get those people behind the wheel of a Rambler, they're going to be pleasantly surprised, too.
Yeah? You got any ideas for getting them behind the wheel, Redhead? Good ones, I mean?
Yeah, sure, Bing. Just get the lead out. That's a brand new idea for you. You've worn a groove with your heels on the top of every desk around here. Get out and see what the outside world looks like. Maybe then you'll sell some cars.
I'll top you this month, Junior, and I won't have to chew the prospects' ears off with those long-winded feature presentations you give them either.
Listen, son, what you don't realize is that unless you create a strong preference for your car with a good, organized feature presentation, you have to sell on a price basis. Now, come to think of it, maybe that's why you're always trotting into the boss's office looking for an extra $50 to close a deal.
Why, you...
All right, hold it a second, you guys. Before we break this up, I'd like to ask you both a question that was asked at a meeting the other day. What would you say is the most important thing to do during the first 5 minutes with a prospect? Bill?
That's easy, Mac. Get them out for a demonstration ride.
Uh-huh. What do you say, Pete?
Oh, gee, I don't know. I'd say ask questions and find out what the prospect is looking for. I mean, what he hopes to get out of a new car.
Well, there you have it. That's how the discussion went. Actually, Pete and Bill really respect each other's ideas and ability. They just get a kick out of ribbing each other. Even so, they did raise a number of controversial questions. Let's take a few minutes now to see how everyone here would answer them. Well, fellas, I hope you had a good discussion of the questions on the voting sheet. Actually, it's hard to say for sure what the correct answers to the questions are. They're mostly questions of opinion on which lots of people will differ. However, following our usual procedure, the questions on the voting sheet were submitted to a panel made up of some of the most successful Hudson dealers and salesmen in the country and some Hudson sales executives. My job is to report what they had to say. The first question dealt with Pete's remark that
with the Rambler, we're able to compete with Ford, Chevrolet, and Plymouth and anything else in the low-price field. That's the market to go after.
the panel agreed unanimously on answer A. The Rambler line puts Hudson dealers squarely in the low-price field. Here's one member of the panel to explain.
The low-price field is the biggest, richest market in the automobile business. Last year, more than 3 million cars were sold in the Rambler's price class. You can get a profitable share of this big market. But to do it, you've got to get out and sell with full confidence that your product is definitely competitive with anything in the low-price field. And it is competitive. From the standpoint of quality, styling, exclusive features, and optional equipment, you can offer your prospects as much and more than any other low-price car offers. And that's a fact.
That's right. And the way to convince yourself it is a fact, the way to get complete confidence in the Rambler's ability to stand up against close comparison, is to visit competitive dealerships, play the part of a prospect, and compare what they have with what you have. I've done just that. And believe me, you'll find, as I did, that the Ramblers stack up as a really competitive low-price car, and especially when air conditioning is being figured in the deal.
We're not discounting the fact, however, that the Rambler has a great potential in the second car market. With the lowest price line of station wagons on the market, and mighty attractive ones at that, we are, in fact, in an exceptionally favorable position to cash in on the nationwide trend towards suburban living and the growing need for a second car. Everybody who lives outside the trolley or bus lines is a prospect for a second car. And a survey shows that compared with a national average of around 12%, over 35% of all Hudson owners already have a second car. So we have a big ready-made second car replacement market among our loyal Hudson owners. They're first-class prospects.
Well, question 2 dealt with what Bill said about the Rambler being ideal for the class market.
Thousands of car owners want a car that looks different from those driven by everybody in his neighborhood. To them, a car that looks different, has class. The Rambler will have a lot of appeal for them.
Most of the panel voted for answer B to this question. They agreed that the distinctive size and appearance of the Rambler is a big selling point that should be used to good advantage in a sales presentation. Women especially, as we all know, respond to the idea of owning something distinctive, whether it's a new hat or a new car. The distinctive appearance of the Rambler should be stressed whenever a woman is in on the sale. Question 3 had to do with this statement by Pete.
The way prices are climbing in the so-called low-price field, the best market for the Rambler is the great number of car buyers who want a car that's really economical to buy and operate.
The panel agreed with Pete and chose answer A. Our competition in the low-price field, the panel said, is evidently trying to attract customers in the medium-price field. That's why they're dolling up their cars. As a result, they're pricing a lot of their former customers out of the market because these customers won't be satisfied with a second-best or stripped-down version of the car. With the Ramblers, we can take away a lot of business from competition by reaching these economy-minded prospects.
Yes, it really pays to go after Ford, Chevy, and Plymouth owners. Not only are they #1 prospects for the Rambler, but their trade-ins are desirable merchandise as used cars. And I'm talking about going after fleet sales and company cars as well as individual owners.
Question 4 deals with what Pete said about a smaller car being a plus factor.
With traffic the way it is and parking space disappearing and gasoline getting more expensive all the time, a great many people are ready for a small, easy-handling car. All it takes to get them into a smaller car is a little persuasive salesmanship and a demonstration.
Answer B won the votes of the panel on this question. Here's a panel member to explain why.
There's no doubt about it. The automobile market is split right down the middle. On the one side, we have a growing interest in light, small, easy-handling, economical transportation. And on the other, a growing interest in bigger, more powerful cars. With the new Rambler line, plus the Wasp and Hornet, we are now in a position to cover 94% of the entire market. Cash in on both trends.
Yes, a lot of people drive heavier cars because, as Pete said, they think a small car will shake them up. We've got to get those people behind the wheel of a Rambler. Let them see for themselves that American Motors has engineered a really comfortable ride into a car that's full-size on the inside, smaller on the outside. When they see they can get, on top of this ride, luxurious styling, up to 30 miles on a gallon, and good resale value, they will buy. Anyway, enough of them to make your time really pay off.
Question 5 dealt with this remark by Bill.
We should try to step up every Rambler prospect into the Hornet or Wasp. These Ramblers are going to bring in people who've never been in a Hudson showroom before. It's a big chance to get them behind the wheel of a Hudson for the first time.
The panel partially agreed with Bill. They picked answer C. Here's how one member put it.
Your own experience with the Ramblers so far probably tells you that we are reaching an entirely different group of prospects. We should use the opportunity to get many of them behind the wheel of a Hudson. if for no other reason than to get them talking about Hudsons to their friends. Some of them can undoubtedly be traded up, but it should be done properly at the right time.
Yes, and the right time is whenever they show any interest in the Hudsons on the showroom floor, or express the opinion after a ride in a Rambler that they would prefer a heavier car. And whenever you're about to lose a prospect for any reason, invite him to look over the Hudsons while he's in the showroom. You've got nothing to lose. In fact, if you invite all Rambler prospects to look the Hudsons over, you can easily and quickly tell whether they have any real interest in them or not. Just keep quiet and let them cue you by what they say.
That sounds like good advice. Well, question 7 asked what you thought of this statement by Bill.
Prospects either like the looks of your car or they don't. The salesman can't do anything about a prospect's opinion of a car's styling.
This question came in for a lot of debate, but the panel finally settled for answer C. They agreed with Pete that as long as a prospect does not have a pronounced dislike of a car's looks, it's possible to get him to see that car in a new light, make him feel that the car is attractive after all. Here's a panel member to explain.
We can all agree that styling is an important factor today in the selection of a new car. But no automobile manufacturer ever has, and none probably ever will, turn out a car that appeals to everyone. In a few short years, however, the Rambler has won an amazing acceptance by the American motoring public. Almost 250,000 Ramblers are now on the road. So you know you've got a car that's right style-wise. Now, you can and should deepen the respect of prospects for the design of this car by pointing out in your sales presentations the functional practicality of its styling, how it's tied in with the double-strength single-unit body. Emphasize the road guide fenders, the clean, uncluttered lines, and the graceful poise of the car on its wheels. Talk about these and other styling features with enthusiasm and conviction, and you will build an appreciation for Rambler styling which is easily converted into the desire to own.
Well, I'm convinced on that point. You know, I never could see why people made so much fuss over some of the art masterpieces until one day somebody took time out to explain what to look for. Then I began to appreciate them. Well, moving on to question 7. You'll remember Pete told Bill,
Unless you create a strong preference for your car with a good, organized feature presentation, you have to sell on a price basis.
the panel really debated this one. They finally agreed unanimously that Pete is 100% right on that score.
You bet he is. A lot of salesmen are complaining that automobile selling today is strictly a price proposition. It doesn't have to be. Many salesmen put it on that basis by failing to give a complete feature presentation to every qualified prospect. And it's extra important for us to give one because we have so many fine features to talk about. Now, Pete, one of the reasons you were asked to take part in this program today is because, as I understand it, your district manager says that you give a complete feature presentation to every qualified prospect. Now, is that a fact?
Yeah, that's right. I do it because I found it pays off.
Tell us how you do it, will you?
Well, the first thing I do after qualifying the man as a prospect is to sell him on listening to a feature presentation. I say something like this. Mr. Prospect, buying a new car involves a sizable sum of money. Isn't it worth 15 minutes of your time to get enough facts so you can make an intelligent decision? Well, most prospects agree it is worthwhile, so I next tell them that people generally buy a specific make of car for one or more of the following reasons: its original cost, its economy of operation, its performance, its ease of handling, its styling, or its specific features. Then I ask him which of these is most important to him. When he tells me, I say I'm going to show him what our car has to offer on each of those points. Now, in that way, I organize the presentation and know which selling points to hit hardest. I don't leave any of those points and move on to the next one until I get agreement from the prospect that our car offers him a great deal on each point. At the end, if I've gotten agreement all the way through, I've created a strong desire to own a Rambler.
Well, I've seen this type of selling, and it not only sells cars, but it enables you to take trades in at the right figure. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's right. When a man wants your car badly enough, he's less likely to want to go to competitive dealers looking for an extra $25 or $50 for his trade-in.
Well, I've seen Pete go through one of his feature presentations, and, brother, he really sells the car hard. Well, the last question, number 8, dealt with my question to Bill and Pete about what is the most important thing to do in the first 5 minutes with a prospect. Remember what Bill said?
That's easy. Get 'em out for a demonstration ride.
Pete's answer was,
I'd say ask questions and find out what the prospect is looking for. I mean, what he hopes to get out of a new car.
the panel split on this question. Even after a lot of debate, some of them held out for answer A. They thought getting a prospect out for a demonstration ride as quickly as possible is the best thing to do, particularly if the salesman really knows how to demonstrate. That is, if he can talk effectively about features throughout the demonstration. Most of the panel, however, voted for answer B. They felt that the first 5 minutes of a sales interview should be spent mostly in asking questions and listening. For what purpose? To find out as much as possible about what the prospect has in mind, what cars he has already looked at, what kind of car he is now driving, the kind of driving he will do, the size of his family, and so on. This kind of approach goes well with most prospects. Besides, it focuses the prospect's attention right away on getting the right car and puts off the question of price. Well, there you have it. Those are the panel's answers to the voting sheet questions. They aren't given to you as gospel. You can disagree with them if you like. But in view of the panel's long, successful experience, I think you'll agree that the ideas brought out here today are worth serious consideration. One thing I know we will all agree on is that the Rambler line gives all of us Hudson salesmen a real opportunity to increase our earnings. The sales goal this year for every Hudson salesman and dealer is 3 times the number of cars we sold last year. With the new line of Rambler cars and the new Hornet and Wasp, and the terrific TV network show and advertising in back of us, and with an increase in our own selling effort, that goal is not out of reach at all. I'm sure you agree with me on that. What do you say, Hudson salesman? Let's do it. Let's get 3 for 1 this year.